Welcome to another episode of Positivity. I'm super excited to be here with Chef Mike. One of the first restaurants that I was introduced to, which was by my brother Shmili. He was here last week when I was here. And he was like, we have to go to Mike's Bistro. It's like, he's like, all the Hasidim are there. They have the best food, the best soup, the best, like it's simple.
The best.
The best.
The best.
Basically.
This is the most common word used
So,
in the
yeah, so I do think
the Jewish language. The best. Give me the best. What's
Right,
the best?
right.
Is this the best? What's the best? What's the best drink? What's the best wine? What's the best steak?
So that's
What's
when
the best restaurant?
Yeah. So like 5-6 years ago, he brought me here to Mike's Bistro. That was my introduction to restaurants. People now know I'm a food lover. I have a channel where I review food. Every Sunday on LinkedIn I do a restaurant review post. My page has food. But this was my introduction to restaurants in New York City. And you revealed to me that you create the trends, certain ideas, and I want to talk about that, how food trends are created. But let's jump into the juicy question. Which type of people come here the most? Is it the Hasidim?
Fat
Is it the
people.
Sephardim? Is it fat people? Tell me, Mike.
Yes, we have to have special chairs, wooden heavy chairs. We have to have maximum. Only fat people.
So who do you have the most?
That's why I try to represent my chevra.
The Hasidim have the most money?
That's a very funny question. I have no idea. Most of the time, I don't know who has the money and who doesn't until they've been here a couple of dozen times.
Right.
And somebody points out and says, "You know who that is?" And I say, "Now I do. Now I know who
What did
he
they
is."
say? Like
I preferred you didn't tell me because I'd rather know him as a guy who eats chicken and
Right.
potatoes. I don't need to know.
Hasidim love attention, no? So they maybe also love recognition. Do you find that?
I think everybody wants to be recognized all the time.
Uh-huh.
It's part of our insecurity.
Right. And how do you
Right.
make sure you have here hundreds of guests a night?
I always make a joke when somebody calls the restaurant and they say, I need I need a private area in the restaurant. I say, if you want privacy, why are you going out? you could stay home and have privacy.
Right.
I'll give you another one. Sometimes people say, we're a group of 12. Can we have a quiet table in the corner? I say, I don't know what kind of corners you have in your house, but where I come from, a corner only fits 2 people. You want 12 people in a corner.
Yeah.
And by the way, you want a quiet corner? You're the noise.
Right.
You're 12 people.
Right.
But-
How do you assure that every person gets a comfortable seat? I mean, is that how you build the restaurant?
So that's very interesting.
Okay.
Everybody has their interpretation of what is the best. The best. You know, this word, the best. What's the best seat? Do I have the best seat? You know, for some people sitting in the back room and nobody knows they're there and they get to hide,
Right.
to them that's enough of a restoration for them. That's what they want. Some people, they get energy from being within the people. I have customers that say, I want a table in the center of the dining room. Don't you dare put me off to the side.
Right. Someone once told me that that's like a confidence move. A person that's really confident is okay sitting in the center. They don't need a corner. They don't need. But maybe when somebody goes on a date, they do want a corner.
I have a Sephardi family that's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful family. You know, beautiful looking, beautiful acting, all the above. I love them so much.
Mm-hmm.
And they always insist on sitting in the center of the dining room.
Wow.
They don't like it when we put them on the side or anything like that. And I understand why. If I had a family like that, if I had a family like that sitting, I would love to have them in the center of the dining room.
I think it's malchus. I think it is royalty when you can sit in the center of a room and just not need a corner.
No, they love it. They love it. And everybody's different. There's no 2 people the same. There's a type.
Yeah.
There are types, and there's people from this area and people from that area.
Right.
But everybody is a little bit, little different.
People come here for dates a lot, obviously, and we all know that when we go to a restaurant, we always see that awkward date. That date where you're like, is it a first? Is it a second? Definitely looks like a first. And then people start judging. People love people watching, and a restaurant's a perfect place to do that. And they're like, are they going to go out again or not? Give me, what do you do?
I had a table playing hanky-panky in the middle of the restaurant yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
What did you do?
Well, it was Jewish hanky-panky, though. Not Goyish hanky-panky. You know, I'll show you like this. There's a little bit of this going on. And I actually saw another table observing their behavior.
Yeah.
And for me, I try not to show it on my face, but
Right.
this is my favorite thing to see is the
So you
interaction
like it.
between people and the movement and
Right.
the dynamic. But I had no idea. I don't know the story. I didn't ask them. I don't care to ask them. I'm just happy that they feel comfortable, that they could be themselves. And I'm happy that another table found them to be entertaining. You know, and the story begins. And, and that's life. That life is what happens when you get off the couch and you go for a walk and you sit down. You know, you don't only come to a restaurant for food. It's always great. It feels like a win when the food is good and you paid for it and you like it and it's good and it's interesting. That's a check.
Yeah.
But really, there's even another check. Is that I call it the softer experience.
Right.
Not the overt where you come in and you have music banging and and you're sitting. The little experiences that happen while you're waiting for the table and another table is coming out, or you're walking in and you looked so familiar to me because I probably saw you online and I greeted you right when you came in.
Yeah.
I truly thought that you were here 2 weeks ago, and you told me you hadn't been here in
a while,
in quite some time.
Yeah.
And then I remember thinking to myself, then how do I know him, right? And then suddenly we struck up a conversation, which brings you here today, almost, right? And I don't think that's accidental.
My friend Zali was like, if you get Mike on a podcast, that's a win. Everybody loves him. Everybody knows him.
Trust me, not everybody loves me. Trust me. Right now, as I'm saying it to you, there's a lot of people going, that's right, we don't love you.
Why do you think that is? I don't know. Is that...
I've been doing this 21 years.
So you feel like you've created
Just Mike's Bistro, 21 years. I was the chef of the Prime Grill in 2001.
Right.
So I came back to New York from Hawaii in 2001. And I found myself falling into the kosher restaurant world. It was never really, that wasn't the agenda. It just kind of fell in that way. So, through the way, you meet a lot of people. I don't remember offending too many people, but I'm sure I offended people. Of course, I'm a human being.
One of the number one questions that I get all the time from people is, and I have my own way of answering it, but the prices, the restaurant, give me a restaurant that's not expensive or whatever. And I always explain to them, like, have you made a couple of calculations in your mind as to how much it costs for service, for food, for dinner? Like, you're going out for dinner, and an average dinner is, I think, for two people, is about between $300 and $500. And I always ask these people, I'm like, you're eating a premium steak. How much do you expect the steak costs some $10 and you can now sell it for $20? Do you make the calculation in your mind? So address those people. What's up with people with the prices when it comes to restaurants?
That is a great question.
And how do you see it? Yeah.
I think we're coming off of a period of excess.
Okay.
Where people felt that they could have a lot of whatever they wanted. There really was a sense of abundance. You felt it.
And
when unmistakable.
When was that? Like
the last
COVID
15 years?
I
would say the last 15 years you had a sense of upward, more, a lot of deals, a lot of business things happening. Okay. People were closing deals. They were just, bring it. I've had people walk into the restaurant and say, bring me the whole menu. Give me every appetizer. Yeah. Give me 3 of these, 4 of these, 2 of these, 3 of these. There was a certain confidence, and it had nothing to do with the price. It had to do with their income.
Yeah.
And they got used to eating large cuts of protein and beef. And really, let's face it, if you go to the supermarket today and you want a 2.5 pounds of dry aged beef from the supermarket, you're paying $75 to $100.
Yeah. Right.
So now imagine getting it on a plate with sauce, with napkin, with bread.
With the server, with
olive oil, with oil. Yeah. With heat, with air conditioning, with permits, with licensing, with insurance, with hashgacha.
Yeah.
Right? Time with space. That's something that we offer here. You pay a lot for square footage, right?
100%.
Right, we open up the seats.
You're like one of the only restaurants that's right off the New York City.
It's amazing.
It's very rare. It's very rare to have a restaurant. Most of them are either in a basement or an upstairs or...
We had a lot of suffering with this space and a lot of luck with this space.
Right.
That's what a restaurant is.
I interrupted you, but you're saying the price is something...
Sorry, let's go back to that price. So the idea is you don't have to finish your meal with a pound of prime dry-aged beef. The equivalent would be you're buying money. When you're eating something like that, what's the word? Schleira, right? It's real schleira. Beef that's aged and prime and domestic. I mean... We all know that that's real money. Yeah. So let's imagine that you're not buying food. You're buying dollar bills. And they're bringing dollar bills and they're putting it on your plate.
Right.
But before those dollar bills came to you, They cut it perfectly. They put it in the refrigerator for a month. they got a special machine to cook it, right?
Yeah.
Then they have a plate and there's some sauce that goes. And they take the money. If you got $100 in $5 bills, you'd say, "Oh, now I understand," right? But it's expensive because you're buying expensive things.
Right.
Chicken is expensive, but it's nowhere near the price of beef.
Right.
You can even have a piece of fish that doesn't compare to a 16-ounce beef or even veal.
Yeah.
You know, veal prices are really high. And you know, if you're getting a veal chop, there's no such thing as a mitzia. A person can't sell you something for cheaper than he pays for it.
Right.
So if you look at the menu today, there's a lot of dishes that are not based around heavy-weighted proteins. We have a meatball that goes over eggplants. That's in the 30s.
Right.
We can give you a duck leg, which is a lovely portion, and it's in the 50 range.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're getting a braised duck leg for $54. So a person can sit down and have a salad, a soup, a duck leg for under $125.
Right.
And you just had 3 beautiful courses.
Right.
The kind of courses that I would serve at any meal and any tasting.
Right.
So you don't want to get too locked into big, heavy pieces of meat because you're paying a lot at the restaurant, and truthfully, the restaurant is not profiting as much on that. So it's not a double win; it's a double loss.
Wow!
But you know, it tastes so good, and it feels so good.
That's a beautiful answer. You're basically saying if somebody has a money issue, first of all, understand that you're going out for the experience, and the price that you're paying is usually reasonable as to what you're getting, number one. Number two, if you have an issue with the price, you don't have to order the tomahawk steak for 2 every time you go out.
That's right.
You can order an appetizer, a soup, you know, and make that fit into your budget. What was the most expensive bill that you had an individual couple or an individual table of, I don't know, 12 pay?
Wine has a huge impact on that.
Okay.
The other day, we sold a bottle of wine. It was a 1994 Chalk Hill.
Okay, wow.
So we charged $4,000 for that.
You have here $4,000 bottle of wine?
We do.
Many of them or a few? Or?
We had a $10,000 bottle where the proceeds were committed to a tzedakah. And that was a Chalk Hill 1993, the first Chalk Hill ever made.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great. We wrote a check for $10,000 to a charity for that.
Oh, wow.
But this one was selected. It was purchased. There was a gentleman that was there was 2 people that were Jewish, 1 person that wasn't, who fancied himself a wine connoisseur.
Yeah.
And when we brought out 3 choices, they selected this bottle.
And it was $4,000 bottle.
And it's not $4,000 because it's the most delicious wine that ever existed. It's $4,000 because we're holding it for 20 years. You know, we're holding that wine for 20 years.
Did they just credit card it? Like, what was it on?
Yeah. And the dinner turned out to be you asked me, it was an expensive dinner. It turned out to be a $7,000 dinner for 3 people.
Wow.
Right? But that's the wine. The food was nowhere near that.
And these people don't blink when they spend. I mean, that's real.
When you're closing,
money, no?
when you're closing a $100 million deal, or you're entertaining a client that could affect a major, it's a rounding error, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like the United States government, how they could just, lose $1 billion here, lose $1 billion here. Same idea.
Are you still amazed by money? Does that talk to you? Do you like it when you see somebody come in dressed well, a family, a couple, and they're just spending? They're just like not looking. They're like, bring me the wine and bring me this, or like bring me the whole menu. Does that wow you? Like, are you amazed by money? I am still. I don't know.
You're always grateful when God sends you gifts.
Yeah.
You don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
Right. And for every person that does that, you might have 4 or 5 other clients that can't afford it. So I always look at that as you need those clients. The only thing I ask is, I hope they take the time to actually value it. And I'm not sure if they do, I have some certain clients that spend very easily, but are also very precise, and they enjoy creativity and they enjoy the finer points, and it's really special. I had multiple clients where I would do a tasting for them every time they walked through the door. And this was from COVID, and it tested your creativity. Can you come up with something new? But I should back up and tell you that any person that has ever gotten into this business thinking that this is going to make me rich, or I'm going to be wealthy, that doesn't exist, is what I'm saying. Nobody goes to culinary school and works for $9 an hour and travels and does this and goes through all this so I can open up a restaurant and be rich. Because you talk to restaurant people now all the time.
Yeah.
Tell me, how many rich ones do you know?
No, zero.
And if they're rich, they're rich from something else.
100%. No, I see it as a hobby. Before I was opened Weber Media.
It's a passion.
Yes, so it's about. But before I opened Weber Media, I wanted to open a restaurant. I love this, I love food, I love seeing people eat, and I love walking over to the table and say, guys, how we doing today? You know what I'm saying? How's everything? There's something to it. And I had this conversation with one of my uncles, and he was like, look, it's a great idea, but the investment is millions of dollars. You start a business where you can just make money right away.
I think it's nice to have a restaurant if you're looking to sell catering. If you want to be a caterer, it's nice to have a restaurant with 20 seats so that you can call in a client and show them what you're going to do.
That's where the big money is?
And that's nice. Well, I don't know if there's big money. Big money is relative.
Yeah.
Big money always puts you into an office.
Right. But I call big money is if one catering job can give me a full night of table seatings, I call that big money compared to what you're selling, generally speaking. Do you do catering?
If it fits and it makes sense, I do it. If I can accomplish it, I do it. I recently did a bar mitzvah in Kiryas Yol.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, so the client just, I guess, loves you, the food, and
they wanted something. They wanted something real, authentic. They wanted something that wasn't chazarish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find that the default to not knowing what you want is to give everything. I say it's like somebody at home. I see this a lot of times in Jewish households, sadly. It comes back to the insecurity situation. Instead of making dinner, they make everything. There's not one challah, there's 3 challahs. There's not one hummus, there's this dip, there's that dip, there's this dip, right? Yeah. And I've said this a million times if you've listened to me. And it's not enough to have just a chicken and a kugel and a vegetable. You need to have this kind of chicken and this kind of chicken, and also you got to have a beef.
Right.
But what if that person doesn't like that beef, so I also like to have stuffed cabbage.
Right.
And that's every meal. They serve the same thing. It's everything at every meal all the time, so nothing changes.
Right. Who is the biggest celebrity, in your opinion? Let's start with non-Jewish that walked in here.
I think John Batiste.
Wow. Okay, I don't know him, but I'm saying wow.
John Batiste is the music man today. He's in my opinion, the most respected musician of the day.
Really? Who else that's memorable for you? Maybe I know.
Well, Floyd Mayweather was here.
Okay, he's cool.
Yeah.
He's big.
Especially amongst the Yidden these days, right?
Yeah, right.
A lot of times people walk in here and I don't even know that they're celebrities.
Oh, yeah? Like myself, you didn't know or anything.
You! Let's go back. You're the biggest celebrity.
Thank you.
But you don't know, because celebrity comes in so many forms. You have movie star celebrities. Right. You have financial legends. Right. Old timers that walk through the door where the younger guys go, do you know who that is?
Right.
That guy. To me, one of the biggest celebrities is Ronald Lauder. Mm-hmm. I think he's a Jewish superhero.
Yeah.
I mean, he hits every note, right? He's a political, national, he's a hero. He's a Jewish hero. He does so much for the Jewish cause. And, of course, he's a billionaire and he comes from an extremely wealthy family. But when I see this guy, I say, wow, this guy's in his 80s and he's still doing it. He's doing it the right way and he's doing it hard. And that to me that's a real celebrity. Obviously, you have I call them local heroes.
Right.
I'm not going to mention the names of who the local heroes are. We all know the ones that give those donations that we're all just so impressed with, that support our neighborhood. Yeah. We have the people that give tremendous tzedakah. Those are incredible heroes. Or it's funny just thinking out loud. A guy like Eli Beer these days is a celebrity also, right?
Right.
With United States. So, but you have negative celebrities also.
Right.
The celebrities that you don't want to see.
Infamous.
Yeah. You have what's her name? Who's politicians, right?
Right.
I wouldn't call them celebrities. They're like evil. They're evil. Right? Everything from governors to mayors to senators to senators from different states to Mike Pence to Mike Pompeo's.
What are these lights for? I see many restaurants have it.
This is the most important thing in the whole restaurant.
Okay.
Do you know that this silly little machine over here
Yeah.
has changed the entire industry?
Tell me why.
You used to have to pay somebody to jump up on the ceiling and pin spot your table so that there was light on the table. Now you have a wireless light that puts light on the table.
Okay.
And if you have a white cloth, it gives you ambient light.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about trying to set the table directly underneath the pin spot.
That's genius.
If I want to make a party in my backyard, I don't even need to get an extension cord. If I want to go to the beach, if I want to have a romantic dinner with you on the beach,
I need a light.
I have a light and a table. It's right there.
It spreads so beautifully, by the way.
Incredible.
Where did you find those?
This is my 4th version. I finally found this one. I like this one now.
Okay,
let's see what's wrong with this. Well, what's wrong with this, right?
Okay.
I don't know yet. When I find out what's wrong with this, and
then
then I'll replace it, I'll find the next one. But what's nice is it doesn't inhibit your view.
Right, I agree.
Right? But they break very easily.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it like $100?
That's my secret.
Oh, okay.
You can get it for 100. You can get it for 200. You can also find it for 30. You got to
Yeah.
find. That's part of the restaurant business. That's
Right.
sourcing. It's like vegetables, right?
Yeah. What happens? Somebody sits here, has a great dinner, an enjoyable meal out with their family, spending $2,000. It comes to pay, and the credit card just doesn't go through. Things that happen daily. Sometimes
Never happens.
Never happened to you?
I could tell you in over 20 years, I never had maybe one situation.
Where somebody couldn't pay?
I've only had 2 people walk out in 20 years. I've never had a situation where somebody said, "I'm sorry, I can't pay." There was only one nebuch situation but it wasn't like a normal human being. It was somebody that's very troubled.
Uh-huh.
It was more of a, I'd rather not say. It's embarrassing for the whole situation, but it's not like a regular guy who just walked in and.
Right.
No, it's an amazing thing. Did you know that? How many businesses do you know where you get to walk in, take the person's time, consume the product, actually eat it, and then afterwards they say, "I know you ate everything, and we've already given you everything. Now can you please pay us?"
Yeah.
I go to the doctor. He asks me my insurance immediately, right at the front door, right? There's no, "Don't worry, we'll bill you later."
Right. It's an interesting concept. Why is
construction?
It like that?
Does a contractor come to your house without a big deposit?
So what's the point? How come?
I think we're just desperate. I think restaurants have like a desperate kind of, I don't know what it is. There's this beauty to a restaurant, but there's also this sort of like subservient sort of, thank you so much for coming, because so many restaurants fail that we're so afraid to offend the guest.
Or it's because they want them to continue to order, and if they don't pay it, they can
call the police, wash dishes. What are they going to do?
That's what I tell people.
Seth, can you shut up? I'm on a podcast.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I'm not talking to a studio audience. I'm talking to him.
Exactly. Mike, tell me, growing up, a little bit of background, your story. As a kid, were you already frying schnitzel, baking cookies? Like, at what age did you notice that you have this passion for food? At what age did you notice you want to own a restaurant? Give me your history background a little bit. Where did you
There was
grow
never
up?
an age that I said I wanted to open up a restaurant.
Okay.
Even when I opened up the restaurant, I still remember a conversation with my wife who said, "Why don't you just shut up and open up a restaurant?" Something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what motivated me, because I said, "Oh yeah?" And that's what motivates me. Like, I can't do it, I'm going to do it, you know? And that's what actually got me into the next level. But how did I get into food? My family is a Munkacher, came in 1974. I have Hungarian background, Russian background. Cooking and food was central to my existence. I grew up with my mother making me hot breakfast, and I came home to hot dinners, and I ate veal as a kid and stewed food and all kinds of Hungarian foods. And, I didn't grow up on peanut butter and jelly. I didn't grow up on cereal with milk. My cereal was hot. And my French toast was boondash, and that was real culture. And I paid attention. It starts with eggs. First, you say, I don't need anybody's help. You have an independence. I make my own breakfast.
Yeah.
I decide how I want to toast my English muffin.
Yeah.
I decide, right? And then once you become that to be a cook, you're a little bit of a control freak, right?
Yeah.
You don't really want somebody else to touch your stuff. And it goes through the whole thing. To be honest, a little secret, I like to do my own laundry too. Because that thing starts early.
Yeah.
I always make a joke, and it's not a joke. You're either playing in the band or you're dancing on the dance floor. You're not doing both.
Right.
It's very rare to be standing on stage playing and also be standing in the circle with the Baal Simcha, if you will, right? And that's a personality type. I don't know too many people that are on both sides very well.
Right. So.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Can you move the water bottle? I feel like it's half full.
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay. Let me ask you. I want to finish your story a little bit. So you grew up, you had good food on the table. That was kind of your inspiration.
Good food,
And then.
And just being in Brooklyn, there were smells, and it's the multiculturalism of my youth that probably created a foundation of what food is.
Yeah.
Right?
When was the first time you cooked something?
I'd say the first thing I cooked was probably this. Cooking is a simple thing. Sometimes it's as simple as toasting bread.
Right. Okay.
Once you start to pay attention, I like it like this. I'll give you an example. I like to toast my bagels before cutting them in half.
Okay.
Why? Because I want a bagel that feels like it just came out of the oven. I don't want a bagel that was cut in half and toasted on the inside. I want a fresh bagel. And the way I get a fresh bagel is I put it in whole. And I do my English muffins like that also. I do it whole.
Right.
I do it whole.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's Ripan. Can you get out of the camera?
I leave this stuff in, by the way, because I love it.
It's funny,
keeps
right?
It is very funny.
So
the first thing you cook was toast?
And then for sure eggs. I remember when I did...
So give me the trick to eggs, and what I noticed
There's no trick.
For the life of me, I can't make them look yellow the way they look on TV. Is that a thing? How do I make them look yellow?
Are you kidding me?
No.
Use a clean pan. That's the first thing.
Okay, I do that. All right.
But I don't think it's about that. To me, my cooking of the eggs was more about... I was very interested in the way onions and mushrooms tasted together. So I became, when I was young, I was obsessed with cooking onions, mushrooms, and eggs. And that probably originated from seeing my mother making lecho. I don't know if you know what lecho is.
Yes.
And the lecho was, sometimes she'd crack an egg in it.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered that tastes good. And then I realized something about the relationship between mushrooms and onions. And I started cutting mushrooms and onions small and sauteing it and putting an egg in and enjoying it and seeing that sometimes it's watery and sometimes it's not. And I still remember when I add milk to the egg, what happens. If I don't add milk, what happens. All these things have an impact.
Right.
Ripan, we're videoing. I just want you to know, okay? It's okay. I'm just letting you know.
Back to eggs, by the way. So
Yeah.
what's the trick?
There's no trick to eggs. I don't know why your eggs aren't turning yellow. I have no explanation. Get better eggs.
Maybe. Where do you get better eggs?
Bad eggs are paler.
Right. Where
Sometimes
do you
what
get the
they
best
feel-
eggs?
You got to just find it,
No, it's like more expensive.
The more you pay for it, the
Yeah,
better.
because
it
not
is.
everybody's paying more for it.
No. When you're paying ridiculous pricing now.
Yeah. Do you do that? Like for your restaurant, you buy the most expensive eggs?
I'm not selling eggs like that.
Right, right.
If
So
I'm
you
doing
need
eggs, I'm
just a
doing
recipe.
quail eggs, or
Right.
or I'm using my eggs for breading procedures.
Right.
It's eggs is a whole world. I think I did a couple of videos on eggs.
Yeah.
I think on kosher.com I did a whole thing on a French rolled omelet.
Right. So when did you open your first restaurant? So you started. You noticed that you have this passion for cooking.
Mine, that I'm a principal, that I own the restaurant. When did I open?
Yeah. What happened before you owned your own restaurant? You worked in a restaurant?
I did a few openings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
What was your first opening?
the first new restaurant I ever worked in was, believe it or not, in Hawaii.
Oh, wow. Is that where you grew up? Or
No,
why
I grew up in
So why in
Brooklyn.
Hawaii?
Oh, so you got to go back. So I went to culinary
You grew
school.
up in Brooklyn?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I grew up in Brooklyn, but then I went to culinary school, and then I went to Northern California. I cooked there for a year, and then I traveled to Hawaii to cook there for a year to learn Asian food. And over there, I was part of a new restaurant. So I got to be part of an opening team there. So that was
Your first.
That was the
gig.
first opening. That was
Okay.
the first opening.
Why Asian food? I'm just curious.
Because growing up in New York, in Eastern European household, going to a French style culinary school,
Yeah.
you don't know anything about Eastern cooking. You know about Western cooking. You know, I call it from Western.
Yeah.
Western cooking. But Eastern cooking is totally different. Different flavors. Soy sauce,
Right.
Ginger, garlic, and scallions, as opposed to onion, celery, and carrots.
What's the difference? Which one is Eastern? Which one is Western? And
Ginger.
what does even
When I say ginger, what does it make you think of? When I say sesame, what does it make you think of? Do you have any associations? I'm curious. When I say soy sauce, what do you think of?
Sesame chicken.
When I say soy sauce, what kind of a person do you think of? Which is interesting because I'm older than you, so you're younger. Maybe you don't have the same association. When I say soy sauce, what food are we probably eating?
I don't know, meat?
This is a miracle.
Chicken? What?
You should know that this is a miracle, right? Because I thought the answer was going to be soy sauce, Chinese food.
Okay.
But that doesn't come off your lips. So you see, you're seeing a serious cultural shift in what you associate as being Asian product. To you, soy sauce is a common ingredient as butter.
Why do people love Chinese food?
Umami.
What does that mean?
It's just a very satisfying flavor. That ginger, garlic, scallion, soy, sesame, chili, all those flavors, even MSG.
Yeah.
Shiitake.
It's addictive, no?
It's addictive flavor. And it's quick and it's relatively inexpensive.
Right.
I don't know what it is. Jews love Chinese food. Don't they?
I know. Here's a question for you. Does China have Chinese restaurants or it's just restaurants?
China has Mandarin-style restaurants.
Yeah.
China has Szechuan-style restaurants. So you understand what I'm saying?
Right, but why do Jews love Chinese in your opinion? Yeah, that's what I noticed. Every Vagnach you're walking in, every Simcha, sesame chicken and potato kugel.
I think it's because it sits nicely on a buffet.
Yeah, like
That's
the
my
color
opinion.
and stuff.
You can put it up. You can order the Chinese food. You can put those little things underneath.
Yeah.
You can put it, cover it. When everybody shows up, they can eat. Because the rice is not going to go bad.
Exactly.
And that meat, once they velvet it. There's a technique of velveting chicken and velveting beef. You ever notice
So
that
it
the
doesn't
meat
go
in
bad?
Chinese food is a little bit different feeling?
Yes, yeah.
It doesn't get hard.
It's like they laminated it.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Dry
That's
freeze.
It's amazing, right? And they have a technique, and it's not
Is it
unnatural.
healthy though, Mike?
I don't think it's unhealthy.
No?
No.
That sugar, the spices,
It doesn't have to be that way. Remember, American Chinese food and Chinese food have nothing to do with each other. We do a dish here very often called a Chinese-style steamed black bass.
Okay.
It's one of the healthiest dishes,
I had it already.
and I learned it in.
Serve it in that metal cage or something? No, am I confusing?
No, it's not even on the menu now. I usually it's steamed in a pan. I put ginger and scallion and chili on it.
I
with
think
soy,
I had it.
and I splash it with hot oil.
You served it in the past?
I've definitely served it 100 times in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think I had this dish.
It's so light and
Yep.
so fresh, and it's steamed, and it's a departure from the cooking that you and I grew up with. Like that's not what you're going to see in a Chinese restaurant these days. When you think Chinese food, you're thinking General Tso's chicken.
Right.
You're thinking about Hunan beef. You're talking about cashew, something or other.
Yeah, beef and broccoli.
Beef and broccoli with. But the truth is,
Why beef and broccoli? The truth is, I'm sorry, go ahead. Truth is.
that's not necessarily Chinese food. That's American
Oh,
Chinese
okay.
food. When you see all those Chinese restaurants and they all have the same menu, whether they're kosher or non, obviously the non-kosher ones have a lot of pork and shrimp on them. But when you look at the structure of it and the style and I'm not going to say it's junk food,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of duck sauce there, and it's there's a lot of different kinds. China is a huge place. What's
Yeah.
American food?
Yeah, I literally, you see, this is exactly what I just wrote.
Oh, American food.
Food. What is, so first of all, I want to just understand this because I'm actually curious. So Eastern is Asia and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Western is what?
Western is Europe, the New World.
Europe,
right?
so our foods,
Paris.
no?
Yes, we're definitely Western.
What's our foods? Like,
What is American food?
we're like baked chicken, schnitzel,
American food
potato
is
kugel?
American food is American Jewish food.
No, Western. What's Western food?
Potato kugel is already Heimish.
Okay, but what's Western?
Brown food.
Okay.
right? You know our food is brown.
Okay. Right.
You
That's
know?
Hymus.
Yeah, that's
And what's Western food? Name me a few Western type of foods.
fish and chips.
Okay.
You know, I would call
Right.
that Western for sure.
Right.
Hamburgers, hot dogs,
Is Western?
definitely.
I thought that's okay. So what's American food?
Um, filet steak frites, you know,
Yeah.
is Western. What's American food?
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I believe that there's American regional cuisine, and I think that there's a new American food which takes in all the influences for the last 20 years and the media and all the knowledge that have been coming through. I mean, you know, I cooked in Hawaii. Is that American?
Mm-hmm.
It is, kind of, right?
Right.
And there you had Filipino, Japanese, Chinese, Japanese. When I was in Northern California, we cooked a lot of French, but that French had a lot of Mexican, Latino influence, a lot of Asian influence,
Yeah.
a lot of curry influence. And that, you know, California cuisine is that anything goes new American culture. But then you had, you know, remember that
Yeah.
cuisine is ever evolving. Would you consider sushi to be American food these days?
No, it's It's definitely Chinese, right?
It's Japanese.
Japanese, I mean.
But the issue is,
I mean Asia.
I don't know. These days, I think that there's enough sushi eaten in this country
That it's American.
that it's been owned. They've owned it now. It's like, did
Yeah.
Italy invent noodles?
I don't know. Yeah,
Well, everybody thinks pasta is Italian,
Italian,
right?
right? Pizza.
But-
Okay,
but
but pizza's Italian. Is
Pizza, pita.
Yeah.
Remember,
Pizza's also American.
it travels.
That's the beauty of food, by the way, Mike. No, as you're talking about it,
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice. Regarding
Listen,
Mexico,
even there's water, right?
Yeah.
It's a spring from. Is it a spring from New York? Yes, this is New
Right,
York.
right.
New York water.
Yeah.
But yes, the culture of food travels. But you know, you have to be able to speak the language. You can't just cook the food.
right?
We have dishes on our menu
Yeah.
that are inspired by my relationship with my team in the kitchen.
Oh wow.
You know that?
Yeah. It's
Because
beautiful.
there's a lot of Latino
Yeah.
and there's great Mexican culture, and I try deeply to understand what they're eating, why they're eating it.
Okay,
you
so
know?
this is the next question that I wrote. Is what's up with Mexican food? Because I feel like they're very into rice, beans, kind of like fast food. I once went to
Not at all.
There's a what?
Not at all. It's deeply informal dining.
Spicy.
To them, it's all from what I've learned, and I should speak with permission, but this is what I've learned: that when they eat corn, corn is not just corn. Corn is a representation of who they are, where they came from, and it's sacred. So
Yeah.
everything is eaten with a corn tortilla. So if you're eating soup, you're eating with the tortilla.
Okay, so corn is their favorite food.
Yes.
I once ate in a
I
Mexican
wouldn't say
restaurant.
favorite. It's not favorite.
Yeah.
It's their most staple, most
Yeah.
basic thing. Masa. Masa. And there were different kinds of corn. You know the word masa is that's the flour that comes that comes from corn that they make tortillas out of.
Ah.
That you eat corn chips out of.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's all made from a
Masa.
type of masa, and you have different masa for different things. You know, blue corn makes a different kind of masa. Or yellow
Yeah.
corn, red corn,
I once
fat
ate
corn,
Yeah.
tender corn, right? But what's Mexican food? Again, it depends whether you're in Oaxaca. Speaking of which, you see, one of
Yeah.
my Mexican employees just walked in.
Yeah.
You have different regions, right? So you have to start to understand. It's like saying, what's Jewish food?
Right.
Is Jewish food Sephardi food? Is Jewish food Hasidic food?
Well, people know. They know the basics. They know kugel. They know cholent. They know. You know
If
what
you're
I'm saying?
Sephardi, if you're, Mizrahi,
Then you know. So it's either kishka or jachnun. But kishka is one of the most famous.
yeah, but
Jewish
not
foods.
kugel,
Right.
right? Certainly not cholent, a different chamin,
Yeah.
right? Which is a totally different thing, but
Right.
they
And chicken
certain-
soup is.
they're not eating herring.
Chicken soup is a pretty Jewish food, right? I don't know where or when.
Is chicken soup a Jewish food? That's a great question.
Gefilte fish.
It's a good question. I could tell you that Augustus Escoffier has chicken soup in his French cookbook from
yeah?
from years ago, but I guess it just makes sense. Take a chicken, cook it in a pot, eat the meat, and enjoy the broth, right? It's all common sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it makes you feel better.
Yeah, I once watched a movie, one of these skits from the Three Stooges, where you see they open a restaurant and they take this huge chicken and they pour hot water over it into a plate and they serve that as chicken soup.
That's very funny.
Yeah, it is.
When did you discover the Three Stooges?
When I was little, but I like them.
The Three Stooges. You're bringing back the Three Stooges, right?
I just love them. They're good characters.
They
but
are.
do you study?
Three Jews.
Really? I didn't know that.
Amazing history.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. That's American Jewish culture right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
incredible.
Do you study history of food? Sounds like you were talking about old timers. Are
The
you
older
like?
I get, the more I wanna know about history, but not just food history. You need to understand culture and people in order to understand what they eat and why they eat it.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. You can't just give a random guy a recipe to chont and think that he's going to be able to get there. He has no idea what he's going for. He doesn't know the origin of it. Why do we eat chont, right?
Right.
Chont is a deeply religious experience, right? And there's a whole history to it, right? There's a whole religious history to it. Why we eat chont, right? And how old it is and what the origin is, right? So to understand Italian food, you got to spend time with Italian people. To understand Hungarian food, you have to spend time with Hungarians, right? There's no such thing, right? Food is not just on a piece of paper. It defines us. Like take an empanada, right? You've heard this term, an empanada?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's what's inside the empanada. It's really not true. It's really what the empanada is made of that defines the empanada. So an empanada in the Caribbean might be different than an empanada in Mexico, which would be different than the empanada in Central America. Because they might use cassava, while another one uses corn, and maybe somebody just uses wheat.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to understand why. It's like food tells the story of who we are, where we came from, and how we survive. Right? Everything you want to know about somebody, you could probably learn by what they eat.
Yeah.
Right?
What about like Chef Ramsay? Everybody talks about him. I think he's like one of the most famous chefs. Do you like his approach? Do you feel that he's controversial? Do you think he's a good chef?
He's a great chef. It's obvious. He put in his dues. He worked his tuchus off. If you go on YouTube, you could see that he was scrubbing and working, and he gave himself, and he gave.
He has now his own restaurant.
He lowered his head. It's more than just restaurants. It's his. One thing that you know is that was a different era. That's when everybody actually, believe me, he never thought that he would be Gordon Ramsay. He was probably just happy to get off the street and have a job, and now maybe have a restaurant. I mean, the idea that he was able to build himself into a massive brand is not what most people are going to have in their experience in life. Do I agree with what he does? If it was in a kitchen, yes. On screen, no. Because on screen, the purpose is not for education. It's for entertainment.
Can you see yourself going that route where you have your own show and 10 different restaurants in different cities and locations?
I have the gift of gab, but I'm not traveling to... I don't want to make my living shitting on people. You know? Excuse my French.
But what about expanding? Would you open another restaurant? Like if you feel that it's necessary, needed, you have the money, the energy?
Listen, we're open 21 years. I'm shocked that we're still here. I'm amazed.
I want to get back to that. So you were in Hawaii, the first opening, then you did a couple of more. When did you open Mike's Bistro?
In 2004.
Okay, and it was in a different location.
I got my feet wet. I was part of the opening crew of the Prime Grill, which was a big deal before your time, right? That was something else. I was part of. I opened a little cafe on Amsterdam Avenue, and then I had to take on a new idea on 67th Street, a place called McCore. This was back in 2003, and then I opened up Mike's Bistro on 72nd Street. So I got my feet wet with all these little things and seeing openings, and I always tried. Oh yes, I was also part of the opening team at a place called Restaurant Above, which was in the Times Square Hilton back in the year 2001.
Cool. What happened to that place?
I have no idea. I got pretty distracted in my own work. And so I got to see little openings and all the challenges of opening and before I opened my own place. And I'd like to say that it prepared me, but it did not.
Okay, tell me more about that. Like, how challenging was it to actually open, and what's your advice to other people opening?
It's so much more than food, and food is so important. You have to become a professional in so many things right away because it's a household, and a household needs everything. A household needs electricity. A household needs proper cleaning. A household needs plumbing knowledge. A household needs air conditioning and airflow and HVAC and legal and that's really what I think the biggest obstacle to opening a restaurant is. It's realizing that you don't even know what you don't know, right? And it takes a certain amount of chutzpah to open up a restaurant. Yeah. Why do you become a chef in the first place? Yeah. Fuck you, that's why. You understand?
Is that how you feel? Do you feel like you just gave yourself out and this was your passion and hobby and you just did it?
It was never a hobby. When I decided to go to culinary school after spending 3 years in college, that was a bold moment. That was a moment where you say, okay, I'm going to go home and tell my parents I want to go to culinary school. I hope they don't laugh at me. Right. And I went home and they didn't laugh at me. Wow. Which is also a mini nace, Yeah. I thought I was going to get resistance. Yeah. And I didn't get resistance. And then before you know it, you're in a totally different world. Because, even though I grew up in a unique universe, because, Yiddish was my first language, but I was so American that I forgot my Yiddish. Wow. So I had to gain my Yiddish back in later life. But, I'm hanging out with Italian, Irish kids, kids from Borough Park, and then going to camp in the summer with Zioni kids and, co-ed. And life was like one big goulash, right? Now but I was always surrounded by, still dominated by Brooklyn Yiddishkeit and going to shul and seeing a kosher pizza store and a kosher bakery. Now suddenly you're out. Now you're surrounded by only non-Jews. Wow. You can count on one hand how many Jews were in the entire school, right? And it's culinary school. So suddenly you got your hands, in a pig's tuchus, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you're like, what am I doing here? It's so foreign. It takes a second to be like...
And you're unique, Mike, because you're a chef. Like you said, you went to school, but you're also an owner, and that's a whole different game level. And I think that's what you just described, and that's beautiful. Do you ever eat out? How does that work? What are you doing? I
don't have the appetite right now. I don't really care so much about going out as much as I'm interested in products. Mm-hmm. The truth is, I have off on Fridays, right? Yeah. You'd say, what do you do on Fridays? Ironically, I buy fruit.
Yeah, that's your
to-go for food? Me, I'm looking around for something. I'm looking, can I get a great piece of fish? Yeah. Last Shabbos, I found myself, I went to market. I picked up a piece of fatty tuna. Yeah. I saw whatever fruits were available, and that's what I came home with.
That passion never ends, that cooking passion. Can somebody develop a passion for cooking?
I think anything that you learn about becomes interesting to you. If you don't know about it, it's never going to be interesting. Right. Nothing. You ever play a video game? Yeah. It's not fun when you know what you're doing. Yeah. That first couple of rounds of what? I'm supposed to push what button to do what? Yeah. Right? That's not fun, right? Riding a bike, if you don't know how to ride a bike, is not fun. You know when it gets fun? Yeah. When you get good at riding the bike, and then the kids start riding, they're all over it, right? Yeah. Nobody likes to do anything that they don't know about or they're not good at. Yeah. Right? And that's the whole thing. The more you know, the more fun it becomes. Right. My wife recently started baking challahs. Oh. So at first she was just following a recipe, right? And you can only imagine what a jerk I am. Yeah, right? I was just going to add. Right? There's probably competition in the kitchen. No competition, because I'm just looking at her. I'm like, I want you to read a little bit about bread. She's like, just shut up. Shut up. I just want to make challah. I just want to have fun. But after I pushed on her a couple of times, now I'm looking at her challahs, and I said, you see? Look at you. You're making like professional challahs right now. Yeah. And I said, and don't act like you didn't hear me. You heard me. And then right now your challahs look amazing. And you're having fun doing it because you know what you're doing and you're good at it.
Right. What's your tip for challah? For all the mothers watching and they want to make a good challah.
Stop adding so much sugar. Challah is not supposed to be cake. Yeah. Don't be afraid to knead it. Challah shouldn't be crumbly like a cookie. It should be like fabric. You ever have one of those big challahs it's braided and you get that one piece where you can pull the whole strand. You almost want to wear like a scarf, You want to just go like that, Challah is like it's that kind of bread, we were watching a video in the back room from 40 years ago, and there was a nice challah on the table, and somebody who's young, 20 years old, goes, "That's a nice challah." Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, that's the exact challah that they're making today Same challah from 40, 50 years ago. I recognize the shape, the bilkala, the one that's small on the bottom and big on the top, The ones you get at the Rebbe challahs, the little Kleinchika Rebbe challahs, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I love them.
What would you say is your favorite part of owning the restaurant day to day?
The people.
Yeah, you love connecting with people. I always see that. You literally you start up a conversation with everybody, and
I only
beautiful.
start up if they pull me in.
Right.
I try not to. I got good advice from somebody. Know when to walk away. And I looked at him recently, and if he's watching this video, he's going to know exactly what I'm talking about. I say, you consider yourself a friend? You thought I was spending too much time at the table, and you didn't tell me? I said, what's the matter with you? Why'd you tell me, Mike? Leave him be. Leave him be. So now I'm like super careful not to overstay my welcome.
I understand.
But you could see the food at the table better than you could see it in the kitchen. So when I'm at the table and I see the food drop and I see people's response to it, and I see the plating style, and I could see that it's one thing to see the food in the window.
Yeah.
But a lot of chefs' experiences end right there.
No.
It's not my problem anymore.
Right.
It's not my problem. It left my window.
Right.
Let the manager deal with it. Right?
Yeah.
That's the difference between being an owner and being an employee. I track it from the entrance to the out to the back, right? In my imagination, I have to see what's happening. And then when you're at the table talking to somebody and the food comes, there's no hiding. That's a level of confidence and at the same time terrifying.
Because you're sitting there.
When something comes out and it looks like crap to you, and the guest has it, and you have to say, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. They forgot to put this.
Did you ever do that?
What do you think?
I don't think so. I think
All
you're
the
perfect.
time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All the time.
Yeah.
You know why? Because food is not perfect. And people are not perfect. And that is one sport going on back there. It's not one guy cooking, stirring a pot and saying, you bring a soup to table too. There's nobody just going like this. You ever see there's shows on TV now?
Yeah.
Nobody's going, okay, here's the soup. And there's a guy waiting. I'll take the soup to him. No.
It's a whole production.
It's sport.
Do you design the production? Do you design the plates? Everything, I guess.
A good food presents itself. And I'm still of the belief that I want a white plate. I don't need to impress you with a bowl that has glitter and is handmade and they're not eating the plate. I'm more interested that you have a clean glass than a funky glass.
Right.
All right? And a white plate and a white cloth where I could see if, God forbid, something fell in.
Right.
There's a lot of people walking around. There's a lot of debris. There's a lot of potential for things to go wrong.
Right.
How are you going to see it? You're going to see it right here with the light, right?
Yeah. What's your personal favorite food?
Farina.
Really?
I love savory farina. Like, I can eat that all day.
You
To
make
me,
a
it's
killer farina?
even a higher level than fettuccine with like butter, and cheese. Soft farina, and I have to eat it slow because I can.
Patience also, and you leave it there for 1 second
seconds.
longer, and it's too heavy.
Oh no, I've mastered farina.
Like, do you cook a lot Shabbos? Like, do you invite guests or stuff like that, or you just forget about cooking and you just live a life?
It's quite the opposite. I really don't have much of a desire to see too many people on the weekends because, you get energy from people
During the but you need
at the middle of Shabbos. You get energy from not being with people.
Right.
It's too much, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's small talk, but I feel like this is, I've seen people. I have customers that have been here over 100, 200 times. David, would you agree with that statement? Would you say we have customers? We have a significant amount of customers. We have 100 customers that have been here 100 times. Would you agree with that statement? Easily.
Do people come here like one night after the other?
I've had
It's like,
customers that have eaten here 5 days a week for 4 years straight.
Really?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
It's a whole nother life.
It's like a family.
We had I won't say the name, I don't care, they won't be embarrassed. The Gibber family has been eating with me for 20 years. I had the pleasure of serving the grandparents, the children, their children.
Yeah, it's like 3 generations.
And the history is unbelievable. Right. It's unbelievable. I still remember one of them as a 13-year-old. Now he comes in with his wife and his kids, and it's an indescribable feeling. When people ask, what are you going to do if things go bad in New York? It's not so much the money that I'm
Right.
missing. Even though, of course, everybody needs to make a living, it's a sadness. Like, no, I don't want this to end. This is a good thing. You know, I have a couple, a mother and a daughter that come in. This is where they connect.
Right.
Clearly, the daughter is more religious than the mother.
Right.
But this is where they sit down. This is where she has a cocktail. This is where we schmooze. I could sit here and I could tell you, we could sit here for days, and I can give you personal stories of people that have come from medical treatments,
Yeah.
people that are here that are dating, people that are divorced and looking for another wife. You know, there's a gentleman here that he walked in and he was dating, and I told him the first day, I said, that is your wife right there.
Oh, wow.
Your wife is here today. And I placed a $1,000 bet on it. And I collected.
Really?
Yes.
He was sitting with her already, or he was just
already
came
dating
alone?
random girls, right? He was going on shidduch dates.
How did
if
you
will.
know that this girl's for him? She was just randomly in the restaurant?
No, he took her out.
He took her out.
And I
Okay.
saw that this is the one.
That they're clicking.
This is the one. And it was.
Wow.
And it was, and that's just one
Of the
just
many
one of
stories.
so many.
Yeah.
So many stories. The other day there's a lot of beautiful stories that happen that you don't even fully. First of all, the hashgacha pratis that happens here sometimes is outrageous,
Yeah.
right? And the other day, a woman walks in from the street, and I took me by surprise. She walked in, and I felt like she was lost, but at the same time, I then realized that she was a special needs.
Yeah.
And I remember she comes through the door and she sits down. She starts looking at the menu, and then she asks me where the homeless shelter is. She didn't call it the homeless shelter, but I know it's a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, why is this woman with special needs sitting down in the restaurant looking at it? This place is way too expensive.
Right.
So internally, I made a decision right there. No matter what happens, you're going to be nice to her. You're going to be kind to her.
Yeah.
You're going to be hospitable to her. And if she doesn't have any money to pay, then so be it.
Wow.
Right? And I took it upon myself. You know what? Boy, was I surprised. She sat down. She was the best customer. She was so intelligent, even though she sounded,
Yeah.
right? She was so patient. She didn't order anything crazy. She ordered plain pasta in a bowl, right? So I adjusted the price, and then she ordered dessert, and she ordered a drink, and she got up and she said, "Thank you so much for taking care of me," all right? And she was so, and I remember walking out going, you know, I wish all my customers were as fine as that person and kind, and you know, and you get surprised. Sometimes you're talking to people that you think are on the highest madrega. Really, all they want to do is just talk, just a little conversation. You know, it's beautiful. There's a certain beautifulness to all of this.
Yeah.
And the stories are endless. Tonight, I have a gentleman who's coming in with soldiers. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not going to mention who, but he has his own little private tzedakah that he does, and these stories will shatter you.
Right.
But tonight he's coming in, and I'm going to be making them a special menu. They're coming in at 8:00, and this guy is just an amazing Baal tzedakah, and he does it quietly, secretly.
Yeah.
But some of the things that come in are unbelievable. Lately, I've been included in amazing tzedakahs.
Yeah.
You know, you always have to remember that Sloan is right around the corner. So I always say, not everybody here is here to party.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always you know, sometimes they got to eat. You know, they just came back from treatment. They just want good, wholesome food.
Right.
And that's what I serve. I serve wholesome food. Chicken that's juicy, seasoned, you know.
Yeah.
Green vegetables, seasonal vegetables. I'm not trying to give you chazarai, as they say, you know. And it's been received until now. I hope we continue going, you know.
Yeah, Mike, your story is really fascinating, and thank
To
you
me
for everything
too.
you
I'm
shared.
shocked when I tell it sometimes. I hope I make it.
Well, thank you for sharing it with our thousands of listeners.
You have thousands of listeners?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and thank you for everybody that listened. And Mike, any final words, a final message that you want to tell the people?
The story is ongoing.
Yeah, see you here, and then you'll
The
get the rest
story
of the story.
is truly ongoing. It's ongoing. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen today.
Right.
You know, and to me, that's the real story.
Yeah.
The real story is that classic dining should always have a great place in kosher and experience.
Right.
You know, one of the jokes I always say is, juicy chicken never gets boring. And that's the story I want to tell.
Right.
I'm not interested in giving you that once in a lifetime high.
Yeah.
I want to be part of your kishkas every day. You know, Tudir. I want to be Tudir.
Yeah.
I'm giving you Torah now, right? Right?
I love it.
And that's it. I appreciate you coming. It's nice
Yeah.
to get to know you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much, everybody that listened. I want to remind you that if you can join the membership, there's not deleted, extra content that we record from every podcast that goes out to those who are a member. It's $10 a month, and it truly helps me out, helps out the channel. And over here, we're also going to put out an extra piece of content for those who are members. Reminder to please like the episode, share it with a friend that can enjoy, subscribe to the channel, it means a lot, leave a comment, and enjoy all the other episodes. And come by to Mike's Bistro and mention Ellie, mention my
Mention
name,
Ellie.
Weber, and you'll get just special treatment. That's
I'm
enough.
curious. I'm curious.
Right?
I'm curious.
So, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.